Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's information session on the TELUS Scholarship, which is a brand new scholarship at UCL for Brazilian students. And we just really want to give this opportunity to give you a bit of information about the scholarship, electronic and electrical engineering at UCL, and the foundation program. My name's Martin, and I'm the head of student recruitment, marketing, and communications at the Centre for Languages and International Education. And I'm pleased to be joined by Edward, Raffaella, and Mario, who maybe just want to quickly introduce yourselves, maybe starting with you, Ed.
Hi, my name is Dr. Ed Romans. I'm an associate professor in electrical engineering, and I'm the undergraduate admissions tutor. So I make decisions about which students to admit from high school and things like that. So I'll be giving you some information today about the kind of degree that we offer in electrical engineering.
Thank you. Maybe pass over to Raffaella.
Hi, I'm Raffaella Armbruster. I'm the UPC admissions coordinator. So that's the UPC Foundation course at UCL.
And lastly, really glad to be joined by Mario, who's a current student on the UPC. If you just want to say a few words, Mario.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mario. I'm Brazilian UPC student, currently doing chemistry and maths, and I hope to help any questions about the course, about the perspective of the students in the course. Thank you.
So what we're going to look at today, I'll talk a little bit about the scholarship and give you a very quick introduction to UCL, and then as Ed said, he'll talk a little bit about the electronic and electrical engineering degree at UCL. We'll then talk about the undergraduate preparatory certificate, which is the first step, so the International Foundation Programme, and how to apply for the scholarship. We will then move over to a question and answer session. So if you do have any questions, you can pop them in the chat box, or there is a question and answer box as well, where you can type in any questions, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. So first of all, a quick summary about the scholarship that is available. As I'm sure you're aware, it does offer you 4 years of study at UCL, and that starts with the 1-year foundation programme, otherwise known as the undergraduate preparatory certificates. And then as long as you pass that foundation programme with the required grades, you will then progress automatically onto the 3-year Bachelor of Engineering in Electronic and Electrical Engineering. And the scholarship does cover full tuition fees for those 4 years of study, as well as living expenses. In addition to that, you'll be given a TELUS mentor who you will meet on a termly basis, and is really there to support you through your time at UCL, to give you any practical support that you need through your journey, both on the foundation and your engineering degree. So that's what's on offer. And then I'll just talk a little bit about UCL for those of you that aren't familiar. We are one of the best universities in the world. We're currently number 8th in the world, 4th in Europe, and 4th in the UK. And that's according to the QS World University rankings. And their last rankings are for 2023 entry, which is up on the slide at the moment. And we are also fortunate to be located in the centre of London. So just there you can see the UCL logo, where the main UCL Bloomsbury campus is located. And that's where the foundation year and your electronic and electrical engineering degree will be taught. Just on in that one area, very close to the British Museum. So about a 7-minute walk away from the British Museum, and about a 10-15-minute walk away from Oxford Street, which is the main shopping street in London. And most of your activities will take place in that one area. And also that's where the majority of our accommodation is, if you wanted to live in accommodation during the foundation year. And then just some very quick statistics about UCL. I won't go over all of them, but we are currently the biggest UK university. We've got over 42,000 students, and around 150 different countries. So it's definitely a very diverse university. Both in terms of the nationalities of our students, but also the disciplines that we offer. As you can see, around 48% of our students come from outside the UK. And, 30 Nobel Prize winners. So, there's lots of interesting and useful statistics about UCL generally, which if you wanted more information, you can look onto our website where we have lots more information. But I think it's really useful now, really just to go into a bit more information about what exactly electrical and electronic engineering is at UCL. And for that, I will pass over to Ed, please.
So hello again, my name is Ed Romans. I'm the admissions tutor for electrical engineering. So I'd just like to tell you about what electrical engineering involves at UCL. It may be different to universities in some other countries. People tend to think that electrical engineering is about things like electrical circuits and soldering components together and things like that. But these days, really, electrical engineering is very different. It really encompasses many of the technologies that we use in the world. So at UCL, a lot of the electrical engineering that people will study is very relevant to many of the sort of big things that are going on in the world and all the technology that we use 24/7 in our lives. So it overlaps everything from sort of quantum physics all the way up to things like the apps on your smartphone. All these things are part of electrical engineering. These days, most graduates want to work for companies like Google or Amazon or these kind of companies. And this kind of technology in the internet and in our mobile phones, this kind of technology that we're using is all part of electrical engineering. So it doesn't just involve building electronics. Electrical engineering also involves the software that runs on electronics, things like the apps. It's a very big emphasis on doing things in the practical world using electronics, not just building the electronics. So if a student is interested in technology and wants to be part of things like that, then electrical engineering is actually a very good degree to do. So electrical engineering also overlaps many of the world's biggest challenges. So for instance, if you're an electrical engineer, you can go into a career in an area like green technology or in energy supply. And our degree programs cover all aspects of this, not just how to build circuits, but how to design complete systems, things like power transmission, how to build renewable generators, how to build better solar panels, how to do all sorts of things in the area of green technology. All these things are part of an electrical engineering degree. Another thing that's part of an electrical engineering degree is things to do with healthcare. So for instance, we have a research group in our department who are not just developing silicon chips, they're actually implanting them into the human body to repair nerve damage, to generate electrical signals in the body in patients who've been paralyzed in accidents. So we teach our students everything they need to know about how to design silicon chips, but the emphasis in an engineering degree is on how to apply these things to real world problems. And this is a very big part of the engineering program at UCL. So for instance, another example would be tackling climate change. You probably know that air traffic controllers use radar to look where aircraft are in the skies, but we have a research group at UCL who are trying to apply radar to other problems. So for instance, you can fire radar at the side of a mountain and predict whether there's likely to be an avalanche, or you can monitor climate change at the North Pole by measuring the thickness of the ice without having to cut a hole. So electrical engineering is all about developing new technologies, but it's also about applying existing technologies to new problems. These are the kind of things that electrical engineers study and learn about, and that we encourage our students to be involved with. So in some universities, electrical engineering is very separate from computer science. In some universities, electrical engineering and computer science are essentially one department. And at UCL, we actually have a separate computer science department, but a lot of the work that goes on in electrical engineering and that students study in an electrical engineering degree strongly overlaps computer science. So if a student is interested in both the sort of hardware and the software aspects of computer science, then actually doing an electrical engineering degree at UCL might be a good choice for them. So for instance, we have researchers in our department who are writing the software that drives the internet, that moves information around the globe, that stores information in data centers, and does things like cloud computing, where you distribute computing power all around the world. So if a student has an interest in computer science, but they also want to be involved with both hardware and software, then an electrical engineering degree might be the best choice for them rather than a computer science degree. And so the key thing at UCL is that all the people who teach students at UCL, like myself, are researchers. So what that means is lots of the latest developments in technology and in electrical engineering get fed into our courses. So we have people at UCL who are researching things like artificial intelligence, robots, self-driving cars, and all these things are already included in the courses that we teach, especially in the later years when most of the courses are optional that students can choose from. So the world of technology is very rapidly moving, but electrical engineers are the people who are kind of inventing that technology, and it's all part of our degree. So I'll just show you some pictures from my own research group. I work in the area of quantum technology and nanotechnology. And you probably know there's a big race on at the moment to develop the next quantum computer. And at UCL, we have a lot of people working in this area. And again, the kind of research we do feeds into our lecture courses. So we teach students all they need to know about quantum mechanics and how to make quantum devices. So these are all big, important aspects of electrical engineering at UCL. And then the world is changing so fast that I am not actually sure what the future will involve. It might involve smart wearable clothing or amazing image recognition technology, or even very cute robots that drive our cars for us. So I'm not sure what the future will bring, but probably electrical engineers of the kind that we train at UCL will be the people who invent the future, basically. So students who are interested in that kind of career would be could be advised that electrical engineering might be the best degree choice for them. It strongly overlaps computer science, quantum physics, material science, technology. All these things are very central to electrical engineering. So what do we look for in applicants? The most important subject for doing electrical engineering is to be good at maths. So we're looking for students who are very strong mathematically. Also, the second most important subject, although it's not essential, would be physics. So we're looking for students who enjoy maths and physics at school, but when they go to university, they don't just necessarily want to learn maths and physics. They actually want to apply that maths and physics to solve problems in the real world, to invent new products or systems, or solve some of the big global challenges. So that's probably the difference between someone who wants to do a science degree and someone who wants to do an engineering degree. An engineer is someone who really wants to get out there and apply what they've learned at university to solve real world problems. So we're looking for students with very, very good mathematical skills, but then students with hobbies in relevant areas like physics or computer programming, robotics, or designing things or solving problems. These are the kind of students that we're looking for. They would make very good electrical engineers. So what do students actually do while studying at UCL? Well, obviously, like all universities, the way we teach the theory of electrical engineering is through lectures, but each week our students have small group tutorials where they go through problems with academic members of staff, with faculty members of staff. And we also obviously have extensive lab facilities where students do a lot of experiments and hands-on project work. Now, one of the things that's very important in an engineering degree is that students get the ability to put into practice what they've learned in theory through project work. And at UCL, compared to some other universities in the UK, our students do a lot of project work where they're given a problem and they work in a group to try and come up with a solution. Sometimes, usually, there's not a single solution, so they learn how to, optimize their thought processes to come up with a workable solution in the shortest time possible. So this is a key aspect of our degree. It's a key training of how you put theory into practice. So our students spend a lot of time during their first few years doing project work rather than just doing lectures and standard labs. They really get a lot of hands-on experience of doing real engineering. And so what can you do with an electrical engineering degree? I would say with an electrical engineering degree, plus a polished CV, that students can get jobs in most sectors, not necessarily just electrical engineering, but most job sectors apart from those like medicine or law, which require specialist degrees. So that's because an engineering degree is both very mathematical, but it also has a very high problem-solving content. So therefore, most of our graduates are very good at mathematical modeling and also solving problems in the real world. So they're sought after in many different sectors. So many of our graduates go and work for the big electrical engineering companies like Siemens or Fujitsu. Many go and work for the big technology companies like Microsoft or Google. Many of our graduates go and work for bigger engineering companies that employ electrical engineers, companies like, for instance, Airbus or Whirlpool. But many of our graduates actually go into finance or management kind of jobs in the City of London or elsewhere because they're highly sought after because they have such good mathematical modeling skills. So really, students with an electrical engineering degree can go in many different directions on graduation. It's not limited to just working in the electronics sector. So that's something about what electrical engineering involves at UCL and what we offer. I just thought I'd end by showing you what students look like when they actually get one of our degrees. These are some of our final year graduates 1 year, and they just had their photo taken because they've just given their final project presentations in their final graduating year. And as you can see, they're all very, very happy. So hopefully if students come to UCL on this TELUS Scholarship Scheme, this is what they would look like in 3 or 4 years' time. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have some questions. Thank you.
So, you know, as I said earlier, you know, it is a 3-year degree in electronic and electrical engineering, but that really does start, first of all, with the UCL undergraduate preparatory certificate, and you would start your studies at UCL in September 2023. At this moment, maybe hand over to Raffaella, just to talk a little bit about what the UPC is and then how students can apply for the scholarship.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So I'm here to talk about the UPC Undergraduate Preparatory Certificate, which we call for short UPC. And I'm the admissions coordinator for the program. So I hope I can answer a lot of questions, any questions you have on how to apply, what the foundation year is about. So first of all, what is this foundation year? We call foundation year a year that is before you start your undergraduate degree. It starts in September and ends in June, July. So it's what we call one academic year in the UK. It's divided in 3 terms, term 1, term 2, term 3, as you can see. So you start the course in September, start learning, studying. You have classes, lectures, seminars, tutorials, and then we have end of term tests around the December break period. You apply to universities, and of course, for the TELUS scholarship, you will apply to EEE at UCL. Continuing term 2, more studying, end of term tests, and then after another break, the Easter break, there is term 3, which is dedicated to revisions and then final exams that are really important for your final grade. Throughout the year, there's a social program on the UPC. You're with a group of students that come from all over the world, all overseas students, and you live on campus as a UCL student, very much. And then for those who need to take additional tests, perhaps it's not your case, we also give a lot of support for students. So this is what you have here as additional tests, but there's no additional tests for EEE. So as a TELUS scholarship, student, you will apply to the UPC SE. This stands for UPC, for Sciences and Engineering. You will be studying 4 subjects, no fewer and no more. The compulsory subjects are academic English and science and society. To give you an idea, academic English is not just an English language course. It's English for academic purposes. So the ambition of this subject is to teach you how to work in English in an academic environment, in a university environment, how to read, how to write, how to, what are the conventions that we use in this country in university. There's another module called Science and Society, which is really exciting, I think, for UPCSE students. There are a number of lectures that link science and society, and then discussions and seminars to discuss important topics that relate to both science and society in the world and generally. And then you will choose 2 optional subjects. For EEE, it will be mathematics and physics. As Ed said, mathematics in particular is a really important subject to be successful in this degree. And physics is also absolutely relevant to your future studies. Here you have some information on what grades you will need to get at the end of the UPCSE year in order to progress to engineering. An overall mark of 70%, which for us is an A, with 76% in maths, which for us is an A star, and 70% in physics. So a bit more information now if you're interested. How do you apply for this great scholarship? I'm going to talk you through how we do this. First of all, we have entry requirements, academic and English, and then a number of other eligibility criteria. So in terms of our requirements for your academic, for your high school standards of study, we want you to have completed or be in the course of completing your high school, national high school qualification with an overall average of 8 out of 10 and 8 out of 10 in the relevant academic subjects. Unsurprisingly, these will be maths and physics in priority that we will be looking for. You will also need to be able to demonstrate that you have good English language, so you can make the best of this of the course. So the equivalent here are given for the IELTS test and the Pearson test. So 6.0 overall and 5.5, these are minimums in the subtests. If you're not familiar with these tests, subtests means writing, reading, speaking, listening. There's 4 subtests. And finally, of course, our eligibility criteria. You have to be a Brazilian national domiciled in Brazil, meet the academic and English language requirements that you can see there on the left, be in financial need as assessed by UCL, and of course, be interested in applying to EEE to study it as an undergraduate student and to be quite sure that this is really the degree that you're aiming for. How do you apply? You start by preparing your UPC TELUS scholarship application. We will need your transcripts, so your high school transcripts this year, the final transcripts, and then the previous 2 years, a teacher's reference, a personal statement, and then this copy of your English language. We will also ask you to fill in a financial assessment form. You can find some information on this online, and we can help you with this and answer some questions. On the right here, you can see the timeline for this year. We've opened applications last week. You can apply until the 1st of April. Everyone will be taking the tests, the entrance test. I'll talk about that in a second, on the 25th of April. Following the entrance test, if you're successful, there's an interview. And then the final decision will be by mid-May. Thank you. Should we move on to a few more details on the tests? So yes, there are entrance tests for this scholarship, but there are entrance tests for the UPC as well. It's not just for the scholarship. The foundation course at UCL is very competitive. It's very sought after. We receive a lot of applications, and we prefer selecting students carefully to make sure they are ready for this program. And it's quite intensive, this program. And so we have entrance tests. We also have students from all over the world. So for us, it's important that we can test all students in the same way with the same test. So like any other UPC student, you will be taking entrance tests, in your case, maths and physics. These tests are done online through our platform at UCL called Extend. I know there's a lot of information there for you. You don't need to remember this. They're 1 hour long. For maths and physics, it's 30 questions, multiple choice answers. And overall, it's, I guess, British GCSE or AS level. And on the right here, you can see perhaps sort of ways to prepare. Have a look at these links so you can see the sort of topics that there might be questions about in maths and physics. If you're successful at the entrance test, so you have to score 50% or more in each test, and we considered your application to be strong because we're also going to look at your transcripts, personal statements, other elements that you have provided, we will invite you for an interview. This is done online, so 20 minutes interview, and you will have more questions on your study plans, on getting to know you as well, getting to know your interest, and discussing your academic plans and your plans for studying in the UK. And I think, and then that's it. And just to finish, perhaps after the interview, if you're successful at the interview and all your application is complete, your financial assessment form, everything is there, you will be pre-selected, of course, for the scholarship. Following that, there is a panel and reviewing students who are successful. And then we aim to make a selection. We have 2 scholarships available for next year, starting in September. Thank you very much. I know that's a lot of information, but I hope you got the main idea of what the UPC is about. Very subject-specific course, quite intensive, great preparation. I have a lot more to say about it. There's a lot of support for our students as well, and also how to apply and this process, application, tests, interview, yeah. Any questions? Indeed. Thank you, Martin.
So Mary is now studying on the UPC, the Undergraduate Preparatory Certificate. I can't quite make out where you are. It looks like UCL.
Yeah, I'm on the entrance of the main library here, guys. And I'm here on it's the main quads of UCL. So it's a nice scenery for everyone to see. Hello, my name is Mario Knowles. I'm Brazilian and UPC students. I'm actually doing chemistry and maths because I want to progress to chemistry, but my knowledge in maths will be a great help, I'm sure, for you to know how the course it is. Well, the UPC is a high demanding course indeed, there's no question that, but it's high rewarding too. You learn a lot about your subject, a lot about English, and it's been a once in a lifetime experience for me personally. For maths, most of the subjects that you take aren't included in a normal Brazilian high school. So I would highly recommend, if you get accepted or maybe you're still applying, for you to study some of the subjects like algebra, differentiation, and integration. That will really boost your performance here in the course. But other than that, I really think the course is well suited for Brazilians, and it'll be a great experience, guys. It has been for me. I met a lot of people from various countries and exchange cultural experience, and has been a great time here. If I have to say one tip about the entrance tests, which is usually the part that worries most applicants, I would say that as Rafaela said, you have a lot of you have mock tests on the UCL website. So try to study the textbooks, but also focus on the questions of the entrance tests if you're struggling with them. and study each question by each question, because this will help when you get the entrance test to be familiar with the type of questions you actually face in the test. But also, I would say that personally, I thought about actually electrical engineering, and I do think it's a great course, and Brazilians have a lot of potential in that. They're really creative and problem solving. So I do think that's what electrical engineering is searching for. So I hope I can help answer any questions you may have. And thank you very much.